Minglaba and welcome to MI Radio's Myanmar Today. I am Aga Jo. Today we have reports on Pyidaungsu Hluttaw approving ADB loan for CERP. Yangon's crowd getting larger with greater awareness of the second wave. Myanmar heading to digital platform for investment and more Asian investors are entering the country. And China ensuring the outbreak is under control despite the growing reported cases. All of that on this edition of Myanmar Today. But for now, let's take a look at what's happening in local news. A Myanmar-Japan investment dialogue on economic recovery after COVID-19 and new investment opportunities was held yesterday via video conference at the Ministry of Investment and Foreign Economic Relations in Naypyidaw. The State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi delivered a keynote address via a video clip in which the State Councillor highlighted the role of Japanese investment in enabling the creation of thousands of well-paid quality jobs, and that quality job creation would remain at the heart of the Myanmar Sustainable Development Plan. As part of the virtual Myanmar-Japan Investment Dialogue, the Myanmar government unveiled two new major infrastructure projects and associated investment opportunities to over 1,000 Japanese business persons in attendance. Ministries held coordination meeting for the advanced voting of Myanmar citizens living abroad for 2020 general election at the respective embassies and permanent representative offices and consulates general in foreign countries. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs hosted the meeting with the Ministry of International Cooperation yesterday afternoon. Union Minister for International Cooperation U Cho-tin, Permanent Secretary U So-han, the Directors General, and Electoral Coordination Committee members of the two ministries attended the meeting. At the meeting, Union Minister U Cho-tin urged Myanmar missions abroad to conduct voter awareness campaigns for Myanmar nationals living abroad, such as filling and submitting Form 15 before the 5th of August, not to lose their right to vote, and to send back the reviewed forms to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in timely manner, transport of the ballot papers after secret voting to the MOFA, to report on preparations for advanced voting procedures, and to set up polling stations in accordance with the guidelines to protect the coronavirus COVID-19. Myanmar star tortoises are bred in Logananda Wildlife Sanctuary in Bagan, Mandalay region under fencing system. The star tortoises are found only in Myanmar. However, they're on the verge of extinction. To be able to increase the number of star tortoises, we need to release them to their native places. The rare star tortoise species are being bred in Logananda Wildlife Sanctuary to be able to conduct more research by the experts and to allow the public to come see for observation. To prevent the star tortoises from extinction, Myanmar government started to breed a total of 82 star tortoises, of which 42 males and 40 females in 2001 at Logananda Wildlife Sanctuary in Bagan region. The pagodas and temples in Yangon region, which have been closed temporarily because of the outbreak of COVID-19, are reopening on 30th of July, according to the regional government. However, the pagodas board trustees from the reopening pagodas and temples have been informed to follow the rules and regulations in line with the health guidelines adopted by the Ministry of Health and Sports. To visit the pagodas and temples located in downtown Yangon, the inspection team led by Regional Minister for Social Affairs will check those reopened pagodas and temples. The related general administration departments will also check to enable the reopening of the pagodas and temples outside of Yangon region. That's all with the local news. Now we will move on to our first report. At the last 6th day of meeting, 5 different representatives of Pyidaungsu Hluttaw advocated the proposal to receive the ADB loan and offered the suggestions on allocation of the loan budget. Following this discussion, Deputy Minister for Ministry of Planning, Finance and Industry U Maung Win explained and answered every single advocating and suggestion from the Hluttaw representatives at the 7-day meeting of the second Pyidaungsu Hluttaw. Representatives of Pyidaungsu Hluttaw agreed to receive $250 million according to the program of COVID-19 Active Response and Expenditure Support CAREA, launched by Asian Development Bank. Pyidaungsu has more.
The second Pyidaungsu Hluttaw 17 regular section continued its 7-day meeting in Naypyidaw on 29 July. Following the section, representatives of Pyidaungsu Hluttaw discussed to respond to the impact of COVID-19 with the loan totaling $250 million according to the programs of COVID-19 Active Response and Expenditure Support CAREA launched by Asian Development Bank ADB. At the last 60 meeting, 5 different representatives of Pyidaungsu Hluttaw advocated the proposal to receive the ADB loan and offer their suggestion on allocation of the loan budget. Following this discussion, Deputy Minister for Ministry of Planning, Finance and Industry, Mawin, explained and answered every single advocating and suggestion from the Hluttaw representatives at the 7-day meeting.
ADB နဲ့ညှိနှိုင်းပြီးတော့ monitoring and evaluation လုပ်ငန်းစဉ်များရေးဆွဲချမှတ်ဆောင်ရွက်သွားမှာဖြစ်ကြောင်းတင်ပြ
The Ministry of Planning, Finance and Industry, cooperating with Asian Development Bank, are going to carry out processes of monitoring and evaluating for the ADB loan. The loan is aimed for supporting COVID-19 active and response expenditure, and so the budget will be used to remedy the areas which are hit by the impact of COVID-19 seriously in accordance with permission from the Union government. Major Winwin-u, the Tamil representative, discussed and suggested taking the loan from the ADB to use a partial amount of the budget for the cost of buying potential vaccine. The MPFI also supposes this is a relevant avocation.
Usayang, Hluttaw representative of Palawa Township, discussed to spend the loan from ADB in area of healthcare services for internally displaced persons in IDP camps at the last 6-day meeting. Deputy Minister Mawin responded on Hluttaw representatives' discussion.
စစ်ဘေးရှောင်ပြည်သူများအတွက်လူမှုဝန်ထမ်းကယ်ဆယ်ရေးနဲ့ပြန်လည်နေရာချထားရေးဝန်ကြီးဌာနမှတဆင့်ပြည်ထောင်စုဘဏ္ဍာရန်ပုံငွေမှလည်း
The healthcare services for the IDBs in relief camps around Myanmar are being provided with the fund from the national budget. The ADB loan will be spent in the relief measures according to its priority. The Asian Development Bank issues a loan according to the receiving country's economy, finance, and monetary policy. The borrower country needs to strive for the relevant result in 3 main measurement indicators. There is also a plan to help the citizens who are suffering the impact of COVID-19 to step up the prevention, control, and treatment processes for infection and to remedy the small and medium enterprises with the support. The ratio for GDP and budget deficit will be maintained at 5.41% in the 2020 and 2021 fiscal years. And the loan from ADB is going to be used in immediate, effective, and direct projects like creating employment opportunity for the public and the country.
Then, Deputy Minister Mawin submitted the proposal to Pyidaungsu Hluttaw to approve the ADB loan for COVID-19 Active Response and Expenditure Support CAREA. The Pyidaungsu Hluttaw representatives agreed to receive $250 million as COVID-19 Active Response and Expenditure Support CAREA from Asian Development Bank ADB. The government has to implement these relief and recovery processes with national budget till 2020 December. When the country has the relevant result in performance indicator by ADB, the loan is going to be received. Then the ADB loan is going to be used in prioritized sector in the relief and recovery processes. The loan can be suspended for 8 years, 16 years for repayment, and 24 years in total. The interest rate for ADB accounts for 1% for the suspended 8 years and 1.5% for 16 years of repayment. I am Pyidaungsu. This is news report from MI Radio.
That's a report on Pyidaungsu Hluttaw approving ADB loan for CERP plan. As there have been no locally transmitted cases in Myanmar for a long time, the government has announced to reopen public places along with the health guidelines issued by the Ministry of Health and Sports. Yangon's crowd is gradually getting larger at those public areas for social and economic reasons. People should be also aware of the asymptomatic infections, as 60% of all reported COVID-19 positive cases are asymptomatic. So the existence of the asymptomatic patients can bring danger to the residents. Yangon has the highest rate of infection for COVID-19 together with the dense population. People need to have the self-protection to prevent the second wave infection. Soirana has more.
As there have been no locally transmitted cases in Myanmar for a long time, the government has announced to reopen public places like restaurants and some of the schools, along with the guidelines issued by the Ministry of Health and Sports. Yangon's crowd is gradually getting larger at those public areas for social and economic reasons. The Pagodas in Yangon downtown area, which has been closed since March due to the prevention processes of COVID-19, is also about to reopen on 30th July. Union Minister Dr. Myan Twe urged the people to stay alert with the guidelines issued by the Ministry of Health and Sports to wash hands for 20 seconds and to shield faces, ears and eyes, which are the mostly virus-infected areas. The virus can stay inside the infected body from 2 to 14 days. People should be also aware of the asymptomatic infections, as 60% out of all the reported COVID-19 positive cases are asymptomatic, according to a quick and dirty analysis of COVID-19 by the Ministry of Health and Sports. The government is able to test only the returnees abroad and close contact persons with the positive patients, so the existence of the asymptomatic patients can bring danger to the residents. Uwe Pyohe, Region Hluttaw representative from Insane Township, said.
As the government high schools have reopened, we are now focusing on the donation of the mask, thermometers and soaps. Other processes are back to almost normal situation and no specific changes have occurred. As there are no local transmissions, people don't want to wear masks. We don't know if there are asymptomatic patients or not. People need to protect themselves. The families will suffer first and the public later. I want to suggest if someone is found out odd in the body, they should go to the nearest medical centers.
Yangon has the highest rate of infection for COVID-19 together with a dense population. People need to have self-protection to prevent the second wave infection. People substitute reusable face cloth masks, which are much more affordable for the grassroots of the local residents, instead of surgical masks in the initial period of COVID-19 outbreak. Now the price of surgical masks has gone down, and even some people don't wear masks properly, and some wear under chin only. Dr. Sidulin, a specialist from Yangon Workers' Hospital, told MI Radio about the self-protection that each resident should have when going to crowded places.
Self-protection is needed not only for COVID-19 disease. For example, we can protect ourselves from any other diseases like seasonal influenza by wearing masks. The infection possibility is high, especially in closed spaces, which are not airy, like cinemas, offices, public buses, and schools. When we touch the masks with our hand, we touch our mouth, nose, and eyes with the same hand. We might get infected. Masks should be disposed systematically to prevent the spread of the virus. I see masks scattered on the ground, and in that way, the virus is distributed. Hand washing is also necessary. Washing hands with water and soap is the most suitable method, and if there are no hand wash basins, we can also use alcohol-based hand sanitizers.
Out of all 351 COVID-19 positive patients in Myanmar, only 20 people are under ICU care and 5 people are put on ventilators. Ma Amy Jo, the resident from Pyidaungsu Township, said.
ကျွန်တော်မြဲ master ပါရဲ့ပြီးရင် hand gel ဦးဆောင်ထားရပေါ့နော်ဟိုပြန်လို့ရှိရင်တော့ခဏနာပြီးတော့လက်ရင်ဆေးပြီးတော့ခဏနာရ
I often wear mask, wash hands and wash clothes every time I come back from outside. We have to use public transportation to go to our work, so it is impossible to follow the social distancing rules sometimes. When the COVID-19 outbreak occurs, I don't go back to my hometown because my parents are over 60 years old and I don't want the infection to spread just by going back. There are too many crowds in market areas and people don't wear masks, so I'm afraid of the second wave of infection.
Myanmar has 351 reported cases with 294 recoveries with 6 deaths, according to the data from the Ministry of Health and Sports. All around the world, there are more than 16 million COVID-19 confirmed cases, and more than 650,000 died from the disease.
That's a report on Yangon's crowd getting larger with the greater awareness of the second wave. Until the month of May of 2019 and 2020 fiscal years, Myanmar has over $4.1 billion approved foreign direct investment. Out of the countries investing in Myanmar, the Asian countries have more contributions. For the conveniences of the investors, DICA and MIC provide online services in order to head towards the digitalization.
Myanmar is receiving the foreign investment at a steady rate, and it has already reached $4.1 billion of approved foreign direct investment until the end of May of this fiscal year, according to the data released by the Directorate of Investment and Companies Administration (DICA). According to the statistic, until the month of May, the leading countries and regions with most investment in Myanmar during 8 months of 2019-2020 fiscal years are Hong Kong, Singapore, Japan, China, the United Kingdom, and the Republic of Korea. Most of the countries on the top of the list are Asian countries. Professor Pyidaungsu Hluttaw, member of Myanmar Investment Commission (MIC), spoke to MI Radio through an online interview.
The policy of the government to look what is called the Look East policy. Asian countries are very keen to invest in Myanmar, and we are very keen to accept them. At the same time, we also feel that there are still many Western companies from Europe, companies from the USA, who are interested to be engaged with us. And therefore, we hope that after the COVID-19, there will be more investments. Because at the moment, we have to understand that Myanmar has a lot of potential. Myanmar has a lot of potential in many sectors. For example, in the fishery sector, because we have a long coastline. So the question is, how do we exploit and how do we manage and how do we ensure that the resources from the sea can be exploited for the benefit of the country? We also have, land resources like minerals, oil, gas, etc. All these will need to be exploited. But at the same time, we have to ensure that these resources are exploited in a very responsible manner.
For ensuring the easier procedures for investors and better way of receiving foreign investment amid COVID-19, DICA and MIC provide online services which are further being accelerated. Instead of laborious and lengthy process to submit proposal, the investors can easily submit the investment proposal through online.
This digitalization of DICA and MIC would further accelerate, and therefore we would like to make sure that any potential foreign investors would have no difficulty and that the process can be done and achieved very quickly. But we, at the same time, at MIC, will ensure that we follow standard operating procedures, and therefore we would make sure that the processing, once the MIC approval is done, could be done as quickly as possible so that investors could invest and start operation as soon as possible. This is our aspiration, this is our goal, and we are trying to use whatever digital technology that is available to us to ensure that these can be done. Now, I'm very happy to say that the foreign investors have expressed their appreciation for the ease of use of the online applications. They have no difficulty at all, and therefore they encourage us to further develop such facilities.
Amid COVID-19 outbreak, the e-commerce in the country becomes booming. Despite online selling and buying, the country is heading towards the digital platform in every aspect, including teaching, working, and most importantly, economy.
We have to get to the digital economy. This is very important. Most of our people are very young, and therefore they are very hardworking, they are well educated, and therefore the question for us is, this is why at MIC we are trying to encourage digital technology. We are trying to encourage that many companies would come in to invest in the digital economy of Myanmar. During the past 4 months of COVID, there's a lot of e-commerce that took place. So we now have online commerce, online business, and therefore what we need is to accelerate this. We have to encourage, especially the young people, to focus on digital technology and digital business. And I'm sure this would encourage foreign companies to come in to help us with the digitalization of our economy. We know that many of the companies in Myanmar, the banks, are also on the road towards digital transformation. And therefore, I'm hoping that digital transformation will be the big area in the future in terms of foreign direct investment.
With more convenient facilities providing for investors, the foreign investment approved amount increases by $747.216 million in the month of May, with a sharp increase amount of $648 from Japan. News reported by Dora Susan from Myanmar International Radio.
That's the report on Myanmar heading to digital platform for investment and more Asian investors entering the country. On Tuesday, the Chinese mainland registered 101 new COVID-19 cases. The National Health Commission said among them, 3 are from overseas and 98 are the domestically transmitted cases. Chinese government is ensuring the outbreak is under control despite the growing number of reported cases. The report covers the latest outbreak situations in China, the emergency response measures exercised there, and the confirmed cases globally.
As of 28th of July, the Chinese mainland registered 101 new COVID-19 cases. The National Health Commission said among them, 3 are from overseas and 98 are the domestically transmitted cases. Of the domestic transmissions, 89 were reported in Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, 8 in Liaoning Province, and 1 in Beijing. No deaths related to the disease were registered on Tuesday, while 10 COVID-19 patients were discharged from hospitals. Altogether, 78,944 patients had been discharged from hospitals by Tuesday, and a total of 84,060 COVID-19 cases had been reported on the Chinese mainland, including 4,634 deaths. Despite the growing number of confirmed cases reported in China, the country is ensuring the situation is under control. Masaji Newin, China Media Group, CI Myanmar Department, explained more on this.
တရုတ်နိုင်ငံမှာဒီ COVID case တွေထပ်တိုးတယ်လို့လည်းကျမတို့သိရတယ်။ဒီ case တွေနဲ့ဆက်ဆက်တဲ့သူအားလုံးကို quarantine ဝင်ခိုင်းထားသလိုဒီလူအများနဲ့ထိတွေ့မှုမရှိဖို့အတွက်အသွားလာနေထိုင်နေပေါ့နော်ကန့်သက်ထားတယ်။နောက်လိုအပ်တဲ့တိုင်းတာစစ်ဆေးမှုတွေကိုပြုလုပ်သွားမယ်လို့လည်းသိရပါတယ်။အခုတလောကတော့ဒီတရုတ်ပြည်မှာ COVID case တွေနဲ့ပေါ့နော်အနည်းစုတွေ့နေရတယ်ဟိုနေရာဒီနေရာတွေမှာဒါပေမဲ့ကောင်းမွန်စွာနဲ့ထိန်းချုပ်ကာကွယ်နိုင်တဲ့အခြေအနေဖြစ်နေစေပါပဲ။ဒီ case ဖြစ်ရတဲ့ဇစ်မြစ်တွေကိုထိရောက်စွာရှာဖွေနိုင်တယ်လို့ပဲဒီကာကွယ်ထိန်းချုပ်မှုလုပ်ငန်းတွေကိုလည်းရော့မသွားပဲနဲ့တရုတ်အစိုးရအနေနဲ့ပေါ့နော်ဒီလင်းလင်းမြန်နဲ့အချိန်မီလှုပ်ဆောင်နေအောင်တွေ့ရပါတယ်။တရုတ်တနိုင်ငံလုံးဒီယောဂထိန်းချုပ်မှုအခြေအနေတွေကတော့အခုဆိုရင်ဈေးတွေစားတောက်ဆိုင်တွေလုပ်ငန်းဝင်တွေလို့စတယ်ပေါ့နော်အများပြည်သူနေရာတွေကိုကာကွယ်ထိန်းချုပ်မှုတွေကိုအပြည့်ထားတယ်။နောက်ပြည်နယ်တွေမျိုးတွေကိုကူးသန်းသွားလာတဲ့နေရာမှာလည်းဒီလိုအပ်တဲ့စစ်စစ်ချက်တွေကိုပြုလုပ်ပြီးတော့သွားလာလို့ရတယ် ပြည်သူတဦးချင်းစီတိုင်းကလည်းဒီ hub kit လို့ပေါ့နော်ကျမကြီးမှတ်ပုံတင်တာတွေကိုကြည်ကြည်ပြန့်ပြန့်ပြုလုပ်ပြီးတော့ဒီသွားလာရပါတယ်နောက်ပြီးဒီပြပကတင်သွင်းတဲ့အေးအေးစိန်ထားတဲ့အစားအစာတွေကိုလည်းတင်းကျပ်တဲ့စစ်ဆေးမှုတွေကိုလှုပ်ဆောင်နေတယ်လူနေရက်ကတ်တွေဆိုလို့ရှိရင်လည်းပုံမှန်ထိန်းချုပ်မှုတွေဆက်လက်ပြီးတော့လှုပ်ဆောင်နေရပေါ့နော်နောက်တစ်ခုကကျတော့ဒီအများပြည်သူတည်ယူကိုဆောင်ရည်တွေမှာဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ကိုပူချိန်တိုင်းတာတို့ကျမကြီးကုတ်တွေစစ်ဆေးတာတို့နောက် master တာတို့သတ်မှတ်ထားတဲ့ကွာဝေးနေတာတို့စသဖြင့်ပေါ့နော်ဒီပုံမှန်စစ်ဆေးမှုတွေကတော့ဆောင်ရွက်နေပါတယ်ရုပ်ရှင်ယုံတို့အားကစားယုံတို့ဒီပြတိုက်တို့ဒီလိုအများပြည်သူနေရာတွေဆိုလို့ရှိရင်လည်းလူအကန့်အသတ်နဲ့ပေါ့နော်ဖွင့်လှစ်နေတာကိုတွေ့ရတယ်တရုတ်အစိုးရအနေနဲ့ကတော့ဒီကိုဗစ်အခြေအနေကိုလိုက်ပြီးတော့ဒီကန့်သတ်မှုတွေကိုသူတို့ကချိန်ညှိလှုပ်ဆောင်နေတာကိုတွေ့ရပါတယ်ရှင်
In global landscape, there are now over 16.5 million COVID-19 confirmed cases globally, with over 658,000 fatalities and more than 9.6 million recoveries, according to the latest tally from Johns Hopkins University. The U.S. has recorded over 4.3 million infections and over 149,000 deaths. The White House on Monday confirmed U.S. President Donald Trump's National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien has tested positive for the novel coronavirus, claiming there was no risk of exposure to Trump or Vice President Mike Pence. Some European countries, including Germany, France, Belgium, and the UK, are now tightening COVID-19 measures. The World Health Organization said on Tuesday the COVID-19 pandemic is one big wave and not seasonal like influenza.
That's a report on China ensuring the outbreak is under control despite the growing reported cases. And that's all we have for today's reports, and it's time to check on some international news here on Myanmar Today. Chinese State Councilor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi has hailed the sound momentum of the China-Japan relations and said he hopes to enhance cooperation and communication with the joint efforts during a phone conversation with the Japanese Foreign Minister Toshimitsu Motegi on Wednesday. During the call, Wang called for all-level exchanges and cooperation between the two sides in the post-epidemic era, stressing that China has taken a series of measures to help Japanese enterprises resume operations, and Wang hoped the Japanese side could also provide fair and transparent environment for Chinese enterprises. Noting the close cooperation and mutual support during the COVID-19 pandemic, Wang called on the two sides to keep the sound momentum and work jointly to push forward cooperation and communication in regional affairs. President Donald Trump said he never questioned Russian leader Vladimir Putin about the U.S. intelligence reports that Moscow paid the Taliban to kill American troops in Afghanistan, casting doubt on the reports in an interview. Trump said in an interview on Tuesday, "I have never discussed it with him." Trump, a Republican who has sought to cultivate warmer relations with Moscow, has said he was not briefed on the matter before it emerged in news media in late June. He has called the reports a hoax and cast doubt on them. Asked why he did not confront Putin on the issue in their call last Thursday, Trump told Axios that was a phone call to discuss other things, and frankly, that's an issue what many people said was fake news. The United States will remove nearly 12,000 American troops from Germany and will also move the headquarters of the U.S. European Command from Stuttgart to Belgium, which is a move aimed at repositioning its forces to increase the deterrence of Russia by rotating troops to other NATO countries in Europe. ABC News reports that some 6,400 troops will head back to the U.S., while 5,400 will be relocated to other stations in Europe that already house American troops. Defense Secretary Mark Esper said, quote, "The alliance will be all the better and stronger," unquote. He announced that 11,900 U.S. military personnel will leave Germany, reducing the number of American troops from 36,000 to 24,000. And that's all we have for today. Thanks for joining me on Myanmar Today. I am Agajo. Have a great day, everyone. Stay home, stay safe.